Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Danny and today we're going to be doing the I know what you read last summer tag. I was tagged by Nahla at Here There Be Stories, so thank you Nahla for the tag. I will, if I can find the original creator and the original video, I will post it in the description, and I'll also post Nahla's tag in the description. You should go and check out her channel. If you all have booktube channels and you would like to participate, please feel free. If you don't have your own channel or you don't necessarily want to do a video on this and you just want to answer the prompts, leave your answers in the comments below. Prompt number 1 is Final Girl, a strong female protagonist. So for this, I chose a series of books. This is the Parasol Protectorate. This is a series that I've been reading the last couple of years. I have one book left in the series, and this follows Alexia, who is a preternatural. So this world is like steampunk-esque, and you have supernatural beings. They have been introduced into society and accepted, and there are laws and things pertaining to supernatural beings and what's allowed, what's not allowed, what's illegal, what's not illegal. And Alexia, being a preternatural, what her power is if she touches a supernatural, they become normal. So that means for vampires that they would become human again, for werewolves they would be unable to turn, and for ghosts she essentially exorcises them or excises them, however you would say that. So yeah, she is both feared, hated, and seen as kind of a nuisance in those areas, but it also puts her in a position where she is part of the supernatural world and not at the same time. She is just an amazing character. She's super snarky and this is also kind of Regency era, and she is seen as a spinster because she, I think, is 26, if I remember correctly, and she's not married. And so yeah, so society sees her as essentially a problem. And so you get to see her interact with the supernatural world, be her sassy self. And yeah, I really love this series. Prompt number 2 is Popcorn, a book that you couldn't put down. So for this, I chose The Locked Door. And this was a recent read of mine. I have never read anything by this author, Frida McFadden, I believe, and I do think that she has a very long backlist of books, and so that's exciting because I really did enjoy this. I ended up rating this 4.5 star, and you follow, I'm not going to be able to remember, sorry, the hair on my face, I'm not going to be able to remember the main character's name, but she is a surgeon, and her father was a serial killer and is currently in prison. And throughout the story, you get it's a dual timeline. So you have the past where she was living with her family and some experiences that she had as a child. And then you follow her current day where she is a surgeon and some of her patients have gone missing. And so throughout this entire book, you are questioning constantly if the person that you are following, if this woman is a serial killer like her father, or if she is kind of a victim of her circumstances. And I just found it fascinating. I really enjoyed the fact that within this book, you are constantly questioning whether or not you're being told the correct thing and whether or not you have the full picture. And I really enjoy being pulled in both directions. Another book that did that really well was the You Let Me In book that I've talked about before on my channel. But I just thought that this was a very fun book, a very fun read. So yeah. Prompt number 3 is Ticket, the book that got you into your favorite genre. So my favorite genre is fantasy, and I've been reading fantasy for a really long time, so I'm not exactly sure what the first book was that I ever read in the fantasy genre, but the book that kind of got me into wanting to read more like large fantasy books was The Way of Kings. And so that's up here with my Stormlight. I know you can't really see because of the glare, but The Way of Kings is the first book in Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson, and I've reread The Way of Kings I think 3 or 4 times now. It's a comfort read at this point in time, even though it's like 1,000 pages. But I love the story. I love the character of Kaladin. If you've never read Stormlight Archive, it's not necessarily where I would start with Brandon Sanderson, even though that is where I started with Sanderson. It's a very massive world, but in The Way of Kings, you follow a character named Kaladin who is, I don't know how much I want to give you guys because like I said, it is a 1,000-page book and I don't want to spoil anything, but you follow his life and some of the things that have happened. You are following multiple characters within this, but Kaladin is like the main character, and he is currently a slave, and you get to figure out the events that led to his enslavement, and you get to follow him also through being a slave in this kingdom, and the decisions and circumstances that led to these events in his life. This is an epic world. You have in this world storms that are very violent, and people essentially hide from whenever they come. And you have a world that has plant life that adapts to that world. Brandon Sanderson's worlds are typically massive, and the magic systems within these worlds are very intricate. And this is his, I don't know what to call it, but this is his like pivotal work. I think Stormlight has been a dream of his since he was very, very young, and so it's kind of his baby. And you definitely see his passion within his magic systems and the world that he's built within Stormlight. Prompt number 4 actually has 3 parts, so I'm gonna read them to you. So the first part is outdoor cinema. Name the best book to film adaptation. So for this one, I said Shadow and Bone. I'm really bad at watching a movie and then realizing that it came from a book, or never realizing that it came from a book until someone tells me like, yeah, that was a book first. And so I don't have a lot to pull from this, but I do think that the Shadow and Bone series on Netflix was a lot better than the books. But I think the reason why Shadow and Bone was very early in Leigh Bardugo's writing career, if not her debut. I can't remember exactly if it's her debut, if it's just very early. They're also YA, and I just think that it's a very cool story, but I think there were some pieces that could have made the story better and more vibrant. And I think that the Netflix show, it's still YA, but it's a grittier YA. And they also introduced some of the characters from the Sixth of Crow series, which I have not read yet. But I absolutely loved that sideline. I do not believe that you have to have read Sixth of Crows in order to watch the series, because like I said, I haven't. I believe the Sixth of Crow timeline within the Netflix series is actually a prequel to the books. But that would be my opinion on the best book to film adaptation. The next question on prompt number 4 is a film that has a better sequel. And I don't watch a lot of movies, and so I actually changed this to a book that has a better sequel. And I said the second book in the First Law trilogy, which is called Before They Are Hanged. So the First Law trilogy is this red, blue, and yellow books behind me. And I really did enjoy The Blade Itself, which is book 1, but because of the fact that Joe Abercrombie focuses so much on characters and not a lot of plot, the first book is more meandering. Not that the second book is super pointed, but I think that because of the fact that the first book sets up the characters so well, that you really get to indulge in the characters' timelines and stories within the second book. So I think the second book in that series is definitely the best. The next question for prompt number 4 is a scary movie that you recommend. So once again, I don't watch a ton of movies, and so I said a scary book that you would recommend. And for me, this was The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher. This was the first book. This is actually the book that got me into horror. You follow the main character who has, I believe, just gotten a divorce and is kind of lost in life. And so she decides to go back to her uncle's shop that she used to work in as a kid. And he's very eccentric. He owns a taxidermy shop and like odds, like bits and bobs from things that he's collected over the years. And he calls it a museum. And it's like an odd, awkward museum that people come and see in this town. And she notices she's taking care of the shop for him because he has to have surgery. And so she told him that she would watch the shop for a couple of days. And in the process of watching the shop, she finds a hole in the wall and tries to fix the hole, but ends up discovering that the hole leads to a place that she is concerned by. I don't want to give you guys too much. And yeah, really creepy, weird things happen. And once again, you have like the taxidermied animals on top of it. I really enjoyed this. The banter between the characters was fantastic, and the world that they, like the place that they end up discovering is super creepy and scary, and gave me like the chills. From number 5, the movie. This is a movie that you are too scared to watch. So I actually do have a movie answer for this. So when I was in high school, I really enjoyed scary movies. That was one of the things that I loved to do. I loved to go to the theater and see scary movies. I loved to watch them at home. And I got so into them that I went at like one of the really, really late showings. It was like a 1 o'clock showing of the first movie, Saw. And I remember at the end of that movie, so I think I was like a junior or senior in high school. At the end of that movie, I parked out back of the theater. And so I had to walk around the building by myself, like at, I don't know, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I remember calling my mom, and I told my mom that she had to stay on the phone with me until I got home because I live out in the country. And so I remember I checked my car, I checked like the back of my car, I got in my car and I drove home. And the entire time I was on the phone with my mom. And after that, I did not watch scary movies anymore. So I would say, like, as far as the movie that I would say I was too scared to watch, it would be any of the sequels to Saw. I think what bothered me most about that movie is that a lot of the scary movies that I had watched were like fake scary, like things that I know aren't real. But the Saw movies take just a normal human who just has, I don't want to give the thing away from the movie, but like they take a normal human that is just evil and makes horrible decisions and hurts people, which is something that could happen in real life. And I think that was like my first experience of like, oh, people can be actually terrible human beings. And so yeah, that's my little my story from the past. Number 6 is Summer Lovin', and this is a book that you would recommend for summer. So this is also another recent read for me, and that is The Road to Roswell. I thought this book was really cute, super light. It was in my lighthearted reads recommendations. You follow a girl who does not believe in aliens, but her friend from college, one of her best friends, is marrying an alien fanatic, and they are getting married in Roswell at the UFO museum. And so she travels to Roswell. She's kind of frustrated. She thinks that she's going to have to break up her friend and this person because some of the experiences that she's had with him just show her that he's probably not the best fit. And the entire time she's like, you know, in her head about the fact that this is dumb and like aliens aren't real. And then she gets abducted by an alien. And the book proceeds from there. This book was a lot of fun. It's marketed as a rom-com, and I would definitely not call it a rom-com. I would just call it a sci-fi comedy. It does have a romance in it, but it's very, very light on the romance, and it's really just a silly book. This, they do have a lot of references to old westerns, which I thought was a really fun twist on sci-fi to connect, you know, something that is more modern with something that is old school. But yeah, I think this would be a fun summertime read. Prompt number 7, Scythe Assassin, which is a villain that you would love to interview. So this, I said Relosfar from the Chorus of Dragons series. I don't know how much I want to give you guys about him because I don't want to spoil any of the series for you guys if you haven't read any of it, but Relosfar has such a fun backstory and I just want to ask him questions about who he is, what he is, and why he made some of the decisions that he did. I think that's all I'm going to give you because I don't want to I don't want to spoil any of it. If you haven't read The Chorus of Dragons, it is epic fantasy. You follow a whole bunch of different POVs within these series, and this is told in a really fun format where every single book has footnotes with someone reading the book along with you and correcting some of the things that are happening in the book with what they think actually happened. So it's a lot of fun if you haven't given it a try. Prompt number 8, The Group of Friends, a horrible friend group. So I have to give this to Bunny. If you've never read Bunny, I don't know that I could describe what it's about because it's a wild ride, and even after reading the entire thing, I still don't really know what happened. You follow a girl who is going to, I think it's a college. I don't think it's a high school. I'm pretty sure it's a college. And she's in this writing class, and there's a group of girls that call themselves the Bunnies. And she gets incorporated into the groups, and some really creepy, weird things start happening. And yeah, the friend group, I mean, they're all terrible. they're all terrible human beings. So that would be my choice for the bad friend group. Prompt number 9 is End of Course, and this is your last DNF. So for me, this would be Red Rising. Don't come at me. It is a soft DNF, but I don't know that I'm ever going to get back to it. I DNF'd it at 20%, and I was listening to it, so I think if I pick it up again, it's going to be physical. I just thought it was really dry, and I just feel, and I know that a lot of books are based on some of the premises that Red Rising uses. And so I think that I just was getting a little irritated at some of the things that I was reading. It just felt like I'd read them before. And I just didn't care about the characters and like what was going to happen and the revolution and things like that. It just wasn't for me. So yeah, soft DNF. I might pick it up again, but like I said, it would definitely be physical instead of the audio. Prompt number 10 is Summer Party. Which book has the worst party in it? And I would say for this, I have to choose The Rook. So this is a recent read for me, and there is a party within this that everything goes wrong, chaos ensues. And so yeah, that's definitely the winner for me as far as the worst party goes. If you've never read The Rook, this was a book that I picked up on, I believe Mara's recommendation in her channel. I think it's called Books Like Woe. And this is a fantasy mystery series / kind of horror. If you've never read The Rook follows a character named Mythony who wakes up at the very beginning of the book in someone else's body. She has no recollection of who she is, who the body, like the body that she is in, who that person is, any of the backstory, why she's in the place that she's in, and she is surrounded by dead bodies. And she very quickly realizes that she has to make a decision. The person, so the body that she is in, has left her notes in the coat that she woke up in, and she reads it, and this person essentially explains to her that she's going to have to decide whether or not she wants to keep the life that she has woken up into, or if she wants to cut and run and get out of there. And she doesn't really give her a lot of information, and she has to make that decision, and then the book follows her choices and the consequences of the choices that she's made. It's wild. This entire book felt like a sprint to me, and the world is so fascinating. I don't want to give you any more information about like what choice she made, but like when she makes her choice and the things that happen because of it, it was so much fun. I love this book. Prompt number 11, we have a secret. This is a character who talks too much. So I'm going to go back to the book that I've already mentioned, Road to Roswell. There's a character in this. I'm pretty sure his name is Lyle, and he talks too much. He is one of the people who ends up somehow within the abduction scene, and he just won't shut up. He has his own opinions. He is not a likable human being, and he can't help himself. He has to talk. Prompt number 12, Cabin in the Woods. What is the best setting for a book? So for this, I think that it depends on the genre. Because I feel like fantasy genres, horror genres, thrillers, I think that they each have a setting that I would prefer. So I'm just going to give you, so we're not here forever, I'm just going to give you what I think for fantasy, because that is my main genre. So as far as my favorite genre, my favorite fantasy genre or fantasy setting, I like massive worlds where we get intricate details of the world. So I want there to be a universe, or you know, multiple continents that we're dealing with. And I like to have the details, like the nitty-gritty details of the locations that our characters are in, and then build upon that. So, I mean, I like world building. But then I also prefer the world to be a little gritty. So I don't like shiny, new, modern worlds. I like there to be danger. I like there to be, I don't want to say despair, but like I like our characters to have a little bit of struggle, and I want the worlds to be dangerous for them, and for the people not to be really polished. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's what I'm going with. The last prompt is prompt number 13, Friday the 13th, and this is a book that traumatized you. So I don't read a lot of books that are traumatizing. I read for escapism, and so I don't tend to read books that upset me by any means, or I try not to. I try to avoid books that have triggers in them for me. But, so I kind of went a little bit of a different direction. I picked a book that I think about and made me kind of a little worried at the end. And so that is Leave the World Behind. This is not a book I hear a lot of people talk about. It's super polarizing. A lot of people hated it. I rated it 5 stars. And this book follows a family who goes to an Airbnb, and essentially the world ends. And so that they lose internet, they lose communication with the outside world, but they seem to be fine. Like they have food, they have electricity, they have water, but communication with the outside world has seemed to be non-existent. And so the whole book is just about like the small things that they go through because of what has happened, but they don't really know what has happened because they can't get any information. And it just kind of makes you think about like what's important and what you would do in a situation like that. So I don't necessarily think that this book traumatized me, but I do think it made me question certain things, and definitely like saw some parallels between some of the things, like because it's set in our world, so it's not like a fantasy world by any means. And so definitely some parallels between some of the things that are happening in the world and what happened in the book. But that is the end of this tag. Once again, if you guys want to participate in this on your own channels, please feel free to do so. If you don't and you just want to answer the prompts, please let me know in the comments down below what your answers were to these prompts. I would love to chat with you guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.